Hello everybody, my name is Eric Mullins, and today we're going to be checking out a figure made by Max Factory. This is from Blue Archive, and it's the Bunnysuit Toki. Pion. Am I doing this right? Full disclosure, I don't play Blue Archive. I know very little about it, but I love this design. I think the character looks awesome. I like her in her maid uniform as well, and when I saw this and I don't own a single bunny girl figure, I was thinking, well, this is it. This is gonna be my first one. So let's get into it. It's so crazy that my first one would right off the bat be riddled with so much controversy. That's the term I'm gonna use to imply my issue with this, but yeah. If you're curious about the unboxing to this figure and you want to check out all the little pieces and how I put her together, be sure to check out my link. It'll be in my description below. Now, usually for my reviews, I get right into talking about that base and I work my way up. However, speaking about working the way up, considering it was made by Max Factory, which is a company that works with Goodsmile Company, I'm actually kind of annoyed. She has a lot in common with this Goodsmile Arts Shanghai figure, and that's scale issues. Regardless of what I'm about to get into here, if you really love either of these two figures, they're both amazing. Extremely well painted, gorgeous sculpt work. However, if you collect a certain scale and you order something expecting that scale so it fits in with the rest of your collection that you collect, you're going to be very disappointed and frustrated about the fact that this is not a 1-on-7, it's a 1-on-8, and this is not a 1-on-7, it's a 1-on-6. Despite that fact, these figures were heavily advertised as 1-on-7s, and there wasn't anything else that could make you believe otherwise. Look, here's the box. I flipped this thing around so you can see it better. 1-on-7 scale figure. They're like really showing that off here. It's even reflective. But of course, dear viewers, I'm not just going to start stating facts without proving them. Deep dive figure reviews is kind of my thing. I have this little piece of paper which I wrote my math down on. In the game, it stated that Toki is roughly 5'3". Makes sense. I mean, she seems like she's got more of a petite frame, but what do I know? I don't play the game. She could have just been really tall and long and just like a giant woman. Who doesn't love a giant woman? I'm going off topic. So measuring her from base to head here, even though she does have high heels, so take it with a bit of a grain of salt on this one, she is 27 centimeters tall, and that does not include her bunny ears or her halo. And when we multiply 27 centimeters by 7, we get a whopping 189 centimeters, which transforming into feet comes up at about 6'2". Is Toki 6'2"? She could be, but on the wikis that I've checked, she isn't. She's kind of stated to be around 5'3". That's much smaller. That's almost an entire foot smaller. And this is where it gets interesting, people. In math interesting. So pay attention. If we multiply 27 centimeters by 6, we end up getting a 162 centimeters, which is equivalent to 5.314 to be precise. But that is so incredibly accurate. And despite her having the high heels, let's say she'd be a little bit shorter without them, it's still so close to her actual height. And let's just say for the whole concept of aesthetic, you don't really care about math, throw that out the window, and you just want to see her in your collection standing next to other figures. It's fair to say that not a lot of companies will use the same type of measurements or scaling as other ones, but they're just off by minuscule amounts. It'll never be anything too extravagant. So here we are, dear viewers, 1-on-7, 1-on-7, 1-on-6, 1-on-7. This is Kotobukiya's rough scale for their Bishoujo line. They're all pretty well scaled out. There's a couple that are a little bigger here or there, but for the most part, it's all right. This is Alter, and I mean Alter. You could have 20 Alter 1-on-7 figures from different franchises, and they really do measure up nicely one against the other. But there ain't no way Toki's this size in comparison to this. And I can already hear some of you typing away saying, well, you just mentioned, Eric, that different companies have different scaling, so maybe Max Factory's 1-on-7s are all super big like this. Say hello to Max Factory's Cosmos. Oh my gosh, I really love this figure. She's just so gorgeous. Enough gushing. She's 1-on-7, and Cosmos, I know, is kind of a bit of a smaller character within the universe of Xenosaga and Xenoblade, so it makes sense that she just looks a little more petite. However, this is, like, look at this head. There's just no way. Although head references is always the best, because some anime illustrations have larger than normal heads, and that's okay. What I'm trying to say here is that Toki is not a 1/7, she's a 1/6. So for any of you out there that are about to purchase this figure and that really love Toki, you need to know this, because if you're going to get her in her maid uniforms and different companies that make her over the years and want to have them all standing next to one another to make a whole Toki display cabinet, you are going to be very frustrated with this figure because she doesn't scale well with any of your others. Of course, if you don't care about the scale and you just want a whole bunch of variety in your display cabinet, that's fine, but I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is false advertising, and I find that insane, because had Max Factory advertised her as a 1/6, I think they could have popped up the price a little bit. It boggles the mind. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, it's time to get into the actual review of the quality on this figure and what you're getting for her extremely good price point for a 1/6 figure. And let's get into it. If you like my video just a little bit, it doesn't cost much to hit that like, hit that subscribe, and why not the notification bell? It goes a super long way at helping my channel grow. And comments! I love comments. I love talking. My wife knows this all too well. Her base is a dark brown, which is surprising. I don't know why I thought it was going to be black. Like so many boring, regular, simplistic, black, elegant, regal style bases, they went with brown here. I think it's nice. It does a good job at still giving off that lovely casino vibe, where we then have this beautiful red velvety carpet. That is soft. Wow, so smooth. Why, you could place all sorts of extra appendages and things on here and not be worried that it would get scratched up over time. This is just lovely. Nothing too special underneath the base, though we do have a really big brown chunk here. The plastic feels solid enough, I'd say, so that peg going through and up into her leg is decent. I love that we have a bit of transparent plastic here under her foot. That's like the classic thing. That's not what I'm... I don't love that part, but I think that that's standard for any kind of figure. What isn't is the fact that we don't get it on her other foot, which is slightly raised and tiptoed out forward. Most figure companies would have put one here. It's just to make it much more stable. She doesn't have it. When giving her the shake test, she does shake. Oh my goodness, she shakes so much. I personally wouldn't put her on top of a computer or anything that's constantly vibrating, because I think that over time it might cause some sort of issues with the peg in her leg, but it always depends on the plastics they use. I just wouldn't chance it. She'll be much safer in a display cabinet or on a lovely shelf. The shoes themselves are a semi-gloss, simplistic, nice sculpt work. Her feet look like they go in her shoes very nicely. No weird beveling or overcompensation for them to plug in. Where when her foot starts to come out, we get a lovely sculpt work for her ankles. Folded materials around the back. We get some nice faint shading on these thigh highs. Nothing too aggressive, but from a distance you can still see it. Personally would have perhaps liked a little more beveling of the skin along the top of this thing, but as I had stated earlier, it looks like it's a perfect fit, and considering she, I believe, is a robot girl, I'm not 100%. Perhaps some of you could write that in the comments section below, because I looked up a little bit on her before doing the review, but not enough to figure that part out. The front of her legs really do look good, but unfortunately you don't get to see them because there's this giant box in the way. Part of her design, I'm not going to knock the box, but it's removable. You have to install it on her, and the fact that we can't just remove it, because if you do, there's just a giant hole in her right leg, kinda sucks. I understand for stability reasons it was needed, but I personally would have loved if they thought of something else, because it would have been nice to maybe have her hand going down and then just her giving the peace sign without necessarily having her briefcase. Options like this are always fun. That is a lovely briefcase, with a beautiful silhouette to it that just screams square briefcase. This briefcase with a square design has some nice little accents on the corners, so when she puts it down, it doesn't get damaged. What a lovely briefcase it is. With just the mildest of design work here and there, this briefcase will go miles and miles on all of her travels with her, and she doesn't have too much to worry about. Of course, it is white. Does it get dirty? Of course not, because she takes care of this briefcase. Lovely little printed design down at the bottom right. This briefcase just screams briefcase. As all of this line work that seems to section off and divide everything goes up into the handle says, "Look at me. I'm a briefcase's handle." Wow, just amazing. Her left-handed fingers have these weird little pegs on them, and they're not that weird in fact. They're briefcase holding pegs. Most of us humans don't have that, and that's what leads me to believe that maybe Toki is a briefcase robot girl. I gotta say that if this briefcase could have opened up, it doesn't. I had to try just in case. This little folded arm could have easily fit in here, as well as this one if you removed like the hand up to the wrist bracelet thing. In-depth reviews, right? I have the worst vocabulary. That's fine, I'll just make up my own vocabulary. In the game, I noticed that this briefcase kind of opens up and this excellent mecha hand comes out. I was told this by somebody when I did my unboxing. I really appreciated that. So this way I can tell you all watching the video now, in case you don't already know, because most of you probably are Toki fans and you probably know her really well. I guess I'm the weird one buying characters that I know nothing about just because I think they look so pretty. But it would have been cool if this could have opened up and maybe had a third hand that was that mecha hand, giving the peace sign that could have replaced this arm here. Disappointed they didn't have the foresight to think about something like that. I mean, they're building this giant box anyway. And it is hollowed out. Her thighs look so elegant and slender to go with her posh disposition, with angles that are a little bit sharper than usual because she is very fit looking. Her behind, like so many anime figures, is expertly sculpted. Everything just looks really well done anatomically wise, and we get an ever so slight minute amount of beveling as it goes into her metallic hyperglossed bunny suit. This bunny suit has amazing shading on it, does an excellent job at really telling us the story of the curvature of her body, and when any kind of light reflects upon it, it just looks so good. Lovely line work to it, beautiful muscular sculpt work, as well as even a nice beveling for her navel. And it hugs her body just really to perfection, where you can see it even cuts out throughout the indentation for the spine on her back. Along the back, we have a non-metallic bow, and this is great. It's kind of a callback to her shoes, though I would say it's just a little bit too dark. I would have made it lighter like the shoes, so it just pops a bit more. Her bunny tail looks terrific. We don't seem to get that much, if any, shading at all, but due to the nature of how it's carved out, the lighting does an excellent job at doing this for us. Her back is beautiful, where you definitely see a lovely indentation for her spine, some nice strong shoulder blades, and even some pulls of her skin around her left arm. Most of the stuff that I'm talking about here on her back and how expertly done it is unfortunately irrelevant. I know, however, we do get to see a little bit here and there throughout the open up, splayed out strands of her hair. As for her chest, similarly to her behind, it's expertly sculpted. You know, it just looks like what she's wearing is very comfortable for her. It has mild shading to it, and this bow should have probably been the same similar colors as her shoes. I'm not going to complain too much because it does pop out as a bit of a focal point, and it is rather cute. Her neck collar has a little bit of shading to it. Her shoulders look delicate and very sharp too, which is just perfect because it matches up with the rest of the design this figure has. For her anatomy, I'd also just like to mention that her skin is extremely soft. The type of plastics that they use here just really feel premium. Her left arm is sculpted and really pressed up against her left breast. They actually carved the sculpt work pretty deep, and from most angles, it's very successfully done, as the lovely thinner arms are sculpted going all the way down into her hands, where she's wearing her classic bunny wrist. If you know the name of these little things, please write so in the comments down below. I should know it. The sculpt work on these is decent. We have a little bit of shading on the top side of the button. Oh, these aren't buttons. They're cufflinks, and on the back end you can actually see the little clip area. For her right arm, you can see a solid line going across here of where it's installed because it can be removed. She comes with two of them. One is long and elegant and holding on to her beautiful briefcase. However, it's very similar in nature to the left one, while her replacement arm comes in at a 90-degree angle, and we actually have her giving the peace sign, or victory sign. The fingers look elegant, beautifully done. They've got a little bit of personality to them. However, I would say that mine with the peace sign painted or decaled on just a little too much on the side. It's a bit unfortunate. I would have liked if it was more straight on, despite her having this crazy, gross, disgusting seam line of her arm being plugged in here. When so many figures, they wouldn't even bother trying to hide that. Don't complain about that line, you get the options. But I complain. Oh yes, I complain. Her head really does slide in perfectly where the hair just envelopes so well around that seam line and even in between the arm and her right breast. This looks so natural and it's so well done that I'm just very impressed. Max Factory. As mentioned, her head pegs perfectly into her neck collar, so well that it looks like she's wearing her neck collar. The neck itself goes up very anime peg-like, where we actually get a little bit of sculpt work here. It's surprising, it's rare that you see that. Underneath, you can see where her face is glued in, but this line is beveled inwards, and I find that they do a pretty good job at making it feel more like the line an artist would draw on a character when looking at them from this perspective. She's got some sweet headsets equipped, and they seem to be attached into the bunny ears. Her ears look good. The earpieces she have also look very nice. She has cute little earrings, and her mic, while simplistic, does look really good. The bunny ear band, along with the ears themselves, have a bit of metallic paint going on, while we get some gloss very similar to her bodysuit. It's more of a semi-gloss here, and it's not as extremely reflective. The ears have some shading to them, though the sculpt work does have some nice lines here and there to imply the armature and cushioning that would have been installed to create these ears in the first place. Her face is adorable, perfectly rounded, great little points around the chin and the nose. Looking at her from every angle just looks excellent. It mimics the source material of the artwork almost perfectly. We have a little bit of gloss around her lips, which make them pop ever so slightly, and that is amazing. Where we then get into the printed or decaled eyes, which are lovely, but like always, I would have been a fan if they put a gloss over the eyeball part and then left the eyelashes matte. What can I say? I want it all. The eyebrow printing is very thin and mostly hidden by her hair, which also looks a lot like the source material. We get a mild pearlization for just the front area. I kind of get what they were trying to do here, because that really does add that anime sheen or reflection, but dang is my Azurlane no Shiro over here really gonna keep popping in every time I talk about hair nowadays, because they knew exactly where to put these metallics or glossy looks on a matte hair so that it really gives off that anime sheen. This is nice. I want them to do something more like this in the future. I want, like, most companies to do something like this in the future. As we start to get into the back part of her hair, they did an excellent job at making things look rather anime flat without having any major curvatures. It almost seems like a little helmet that's put on, and then they glue and attach all the other hair underneath. This works very well. It's fun that we have her lovely blue strand going up and then being braided along the back. All of this looks pretty good. While her hair coming out from under the braids, we do see some of the lines of the interconnecting pieces, but due to the fact that the carving of her hair here is deep all around, it does an excellent job at hiding that fact. Actually, I would say the only time that it's really noticeable would be on her ponytail. Where up at the top right, you can actually see the piece of plastic just glued there to come down to create one single strand that I really don't even think was necessary to have in the first place. Meanwhile, the inside of her hair, you can actually see all sorts of these pieces that are plugged and glued in, but it's not noticeable while her head is installed on her body. It's all very well hidden behind her back. What's holding this ponytail is a super cute bow. This thing is dark due to the overuse of shading. It mimics the bow that she has beneath her bunny tail. It's done in a matte, and having consistency here is nice, though you don't really see the one on her bunny tail that much in the first place. So for a callback, it doesn't really feel like one. But it is. But it doesn't feel like it. But it is. Pegged into her head, we have this lovely halo that just looks super cool. The coloring is perfect and matches up with the rest of her color-coordinated costume that she's wearing today. We get some nice shading and highlights on this thing as it slowly goes into the lighter blue. And I believe I installed it properly. I say this because it's a circular peg, so this thing can just spin around if you want it to, and it feels incredibly fragile as you're putting it in. Just be careful installing this part. It really just feels like it'll snap right off while you're inserting it. Like, take your time. Upon her release, she was going for 18,000 yen, and for a 1/7 figure, I would say that's just a little bit steep, especially considering she doesn't have that much craziness going on with her with the details. I get that you're paying for license. Her sculpt and paintwork is just incredibly well done, and that's worth it in itself. I pre-ordered her knowing she was that price and thinking that she was going to be a 1/7 like Cosmos over here. I can't fault that too much. It's really personal preference at this point. I say at that price point, she would have debatably been worth it as a 1/7. But after doing all that math with you earlier, for any of you that managed to stick around and pay attention to that part, she is not a 1/7. She is a 1/6 figure of Toki from Blue Archive. The base doesn't take up too much space. She looks beautiful, and because of this larger sizing, they got to put in all those little extra details on her like so many 1/6s do. Personally think that she's definitely worth it at that price point. But she's not a 1 on 7. She won't fit with your other 1 on 7s. You don't always need that in a collection. It's fun to have variety. When it came to Shinano from Goodsmile Arts, I was very angry because I bought another 1 on 7 figure of Amagi that I wanted to put next to her, and they don't fit next to each other because she's too tiny. So that made me frustrated, but I don't plan on selling this anytime soon because I think it's so well made. So I'm so torn about something like this, but from somebody who doesn't have a huge collection of Blue Archive characters that I want them all standing next to one another, having just a single piece like this is terrific. I can understand why for some of you it wouldn't be, even if they are giving you more. So why would you complain? Well, it's because we don't always want more. Sometimes we just want things the way that we were told they were going to be. We just want to adhere to the promises and also the respectful and reliable nature of a company that is known for making incredibly good anime figures. If you're still on the fence about this figure and you're not 100% sure, I would suggest either checking out other people's reviews because they might be a little less biased than me or a little more, and I would also say that you should go on the My Figure Collection webpage. I put a link in the description down below for her directly, and there's always like a picture section where you can see her in other people's collections and have a bit of a better idea of how she'll fit in perhaps yours. So hopefully my review helped you decide which side of the fence you're on today. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Pion. What? Do bunnies make that sound in Japan? Like when they're hopping around? Like I figured you'd hear hop, hip, hoppity. I don't know what I don't really know what bunnies sound like. I've never had one. Do they? Are they like pyong, pyong, pyong? Is that the sound they make when they hop around in Japan? You know how like Western cats go meow, but the ones in the East go nian. That's a thing, right? Or when it comes to eating, like somebody in a comic book will write munch, 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 but in France, they'll write it miam, miam, miam for eating. Kyun? It's fun to see all these different types of cultures that have interpreted different types of sound effects throughout the years. Is pion a thing that she says in particular? Like, is that unique just to her? I don't know. It's pretty cute though. Pion it is?